Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla and today I'm going to share how I manage my money. So first off, let me say, unfortunately, I'm at the tail end of a cold and I am feeling much better, but I sound like this. So I am still a bit congested and I absolutely hate how I sound right now, so I apologize in advance. But you know, I gave myself the rest that I needed and it's time for me to film a video. So here we are. I don't typically sound like this. I have filmed a video on how I manage my money before, but that was back in 2020 and things were quite different then. So I figured it's time for an update. I think these videos are super interesting to watch anyway. And yeah, y'all know I'm happy to share how I go about handling my finances. Some of you may already know if you tune into my videos on a regular basis, but this video is going to be pretty long, so I will have timestamps. You can click around if you prefer to, but I'm going to just go through basically each aspect of personal finances and how I handle it. Now, up until May 2024, I've always worked a 9-to-5 job, and now I am completely self-employed. So that's one of the major differences, and I'll talk about my income and all of that, where that comes from. But I feel for the most part, I still handle my money the same way. Like if you go back and watch that video from 2020, things are going to definitely overlap. I would say now the main difference is that my income does fluctuate. And then of course that does affect how much I'm able to save, how much I'm able to invest. However, the way that I have my business set up, I am an S corporation, so I still have a paycheck. I'm a W-2 employee through my business. So I still, you know, I still receive a paycheck. I still contribute to a 401k, that type of thing. It's just all within its own self, I suppose. I'm going to start with my income, about how much that is on an annual basis and where that money comes from. So for 2024, from my business, I made about $50,000. This year, I would love to more than double that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but so far I'm, you know, if we're looking at January through March of 2025, I'm a bit behind on that. However, I've had pretty strong months so far into 2025. So for example, in January, I grossed over $6,000 in income, over $5,600 in February, and so far I've made about $4,700 in March, and we still have a week or so left, and I know that I have more money coming in this month. So yes, overall, my income does fluctuate, and it's very unpredictable at this point, especially since I'm so new to self-employment and I am working on growing my business, and that's just kind of expected. Lately, it's been more steady, but I'm realizing that during the summer months, things tend to slow down. I know that during 2024, that was definitely a huge thing because I think in 1 month I made like 2,800 something, which is very low for me, and it can get a little bit uncomfortable, but now that I've been doing this for some time, it's just been a bit easier to manage. And by the way, I do have an income goal for 2025. I would like to make at least $120,000 gross earnings. I mean, even better if it's net earnings. But yeah, I would just love to hit that 6-figure mark in my business. Like I was just talking about, I don't really know what to expect, but things could change, things could improve. I've seen a lot of growth even just over the last few months. And at the end of the day, I am just genuinely so much happier being self-employed. I love it so much. Like, I can't believe this is my dream job. You know, I love creating content. I love working with clients, like everything that I'm doing. It's just a dream come true. So I'm okay with the lower income. There are some times where I'm like, oh, I wish I made more so I could invest more, but I'm able to pay for everything that I need to pay for. And I'm just very grateful to be where I'm at. So, okay, but anyways, let's talk about my different streams of income. So first up would be YouTube. So if you saw ads at the beginning of this video, or maybe one just popped up a second ago, I don't know, I make money from those ads. So YouTube AdSense. I also make ad money from a website called Mediavine. So these are display ads on my lifestyle blog, livinglikelayla.com. That's something I started like way back in undergrad, and I got that monetized some time ago. I don't write for that blog anymore, but it still makes me some money. So more ads, I would say. I do make money from coaching. So I work with clients one-on-one, or I work with couples even, and I help them to budget, come up with a debt payoff plan, a savings plan, talk through finances, hold them accountable, all of those things. I also make money from affiliate sales. I'm going to loop in referrals here as well. So if I have a unique link, a link that's unique to me, and you click on that link and make a purchase with that link, that's an affiliate sale. So you make a purchase with that link, I receive a small commission at no extra cost to you. And then referrals, that's like if I'm promoting a credit card that I use that's tied to me, then you open a credit card after using that link, and if you get approved, I will get $100 or whatever it is. I also have that for several checking accounts, so those kind of go hand in hand. I also receive money from some sponsorships. For the most part, it's coming from Mint Mobile. I'm actually a partner with Mint Mobile, so they pay me when I create the content, but also I'm an affiliate with them. So if you use my link, I also get a kickback from that, which it's kind of a nice system that I have going with Mint Mobile, and that's like my top sponsor. There's some other companies that I work with throughout the year. This is an area I actually do want to grow in, just because there are brands that I want to work with, and I know that I just need to, I don't really reach out to companies, honestly. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, we don't want sponsored content, but at the end of the day, this is my job. And if it's a company that I am, you know, I like their stuff or I use their whatever it may be, I'm happy to promote that and get paid for it, you know? So that's an area I do want to grow, just because there is so much opportunity out there, something I'm working on. I do make a little bit of money from Etsy. So I sell digital downloads, Google Sheets templates for various financial things. I also sell some fun finance stickers. And then final area for income would be direct support. So sometimes people will send me money through Venmo or buy me a coffee, which is a support platform. Never expected, very much appreciated. At this point for 2025, I have been putting that money toward my business savings, my business sinking fund, so that I can prep for my biannual giveaway. I give away $2,000 in the year. So that's the breakdown of my income. Sometimes I'm asked if I use like QuickBooks or how I keep track of my income coming in, my expenses, that type of thing. It's actually all very manual. Obviously, I genuinely enjoy finances, so I'm okay with kind of nerding out in the spreadsheets, as y'all know. So that is what I do. I created a spreadsheet for tracking my business revenue and my business expenses. So we can hop to that real quick and I'll show you what that looks like. So back in 2024, if you watched my monthly income report videos, you're probably used to seeing something like this. Like I would just show each section. And this is what I used to do. So yeah, just like business income, extra income, and then I would keep track of the expenses, and I would just do this month over month, pretty simple and straightforward. And then I would also keep track in like these little goal trackers. However, in 2024, I realized that it's much easier to kind of put things all in one place, so I can have it totaling up off to the right-hand side. So that's exactly what this spreadsheet is. Obviously, all the months are across the top, and then I am tracking my revenue. They're all totaling up off to the right, and yeah, you can see from 2024, $50,356 or so. That is my gross income, and then I keep track of my expenses the same way. And that's all, it's all totals up for each month, totals up for the whole year. And this just makes it so much easier when I go to do my taxes. So I go to a CPA for my taxes and I have it all in one place, and then I can just kind of pull this up or print this out when I go there and just go down the list. This is 2024, like I said, so we can hop to 2025. This is what it's looking like so far. And I mentioned that referrals are now like business income for me. So that was something I always counted as extra income. This is something I'll talk more about in my upcoming monthly update, because I recently made this change actually. But when I went to go file my taxes, the referrals count as business income, you know, because it's through, like when I'm promoting these links, it's because of this channel or because of my blog, my coaching, whatever. So it's now business income. So that's kind of the difference here, but still the same spreadsheet here, and everything is totaling up off to the right. And then same with the expenses. I still track those the same way. And I do get pretty detailed with my expense tracking just in case. So if there's anything that I'm paying for, I make sure to write out kind of in detail exactly what I purchased, like why I paid for that, why it's a business expense, in case there's any questions come tax time. But usually it's really not an issue. And then this year, what I did differently is add my extra income onto this sheet. And yeah, that's just down here at the bottom, since that's also income coming into me. Briefly, I did want to touch on how I kind of manage the variability of my income, because I know that happens for a lot of people. Even if you're not self-employed, maybe you work a part-time job or you work an hourly job, so it just varies on a month-to-month basis. And I'll kind of talk about this more when I go through how I budget and all of that. But typically when I'm going into a month, I know at least what I'm expecting, like the bare minimum that I'm expecting. So that's what I will budget with. How I get paid is usually 30, 60, or 90 days out. So like, for example, with YouTube, I know how much I'll be making the month before. So I'll, finish the whole month of February, and I know that whatever I made for February, that's what I'll be receiving in March. And same goes with sponsored content. So when I'm working with Mint Mobile, if I did, 4 videos in the month, I know how much they're going to be paying me the following month, and then I can see how much I made from their affiliate sales as well, and I'll receive that after 30 days. So there is some predictability with it, and as far as budgeting goes, I will go with that bare minimum that I'm expecting. And then I do have a pretty solid emergency fund at this point and just general savings. So outside of my emergency fund, I have a number of other sinking funds that I could pull from if absolutely necessary. But I went into self-employment knowing that I did not want to touch my emergency fund. Like, it was very important for me to be making money from my business and not touch my savings. There was only one time that I did that. I didn't really need to. It was just so I could get a month ahead with my personal expenses, basically. But I have not touched my emergency fund since. Of course, I'll use it if I absolutely need to. So that's there if necessary. But I do kind of have this rule for myself that if I have to pull from my emergency fund 3 months in a row, then I need to change something. Like, I need to go back to a 9-to-5 or get a retail job or something. But so far, so good. And that's just not going to happen. Like, I'm just going to put in the work and keep on growing what I have going on here. But it's there in case I need it for business and for just personal emergencies as well. We'll talk about that more though. Before I move on, I do want to give a big thank you to Mint Mobile for partnering with me for this video. And they still have a really good deal going on for their unlimited plan, so I'll talk about that in a bit. But Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 per month. With all of their plans, you can get unlimited talk and text, high quality speed, data, and coverage. You get access to 5G and access to mobile hotspot, which is my favorite thing. I use it all the time. You also get to keep your same phone and same phone number, and switching over to Mint Mobile is very easy. All you have to do is go to mintmobile.com/debtoverit. That's also linked down below in my description box. From there, you'll enter in a little bit of information about yourself, and you can determine if your phone is eSIM compatible. If your phone is eSIM compatible, you can set things up in just a few minutes right from the comfort of your home. If your phone is not eSIM compatible, do not worry. Mint Mobile will ship a SIM card to your house. You'll get that in a couple of days. It is free of charge, and then you can still set things up on your own in just a few minutes. I've been using Mint Mobile for going on 3 years now, and I absolutely love that I'm able to save money on my phone plan without sacrificing the coverage that I need. I also love that I can pay annually, so it's not a monthly bill that I have to worry about. So if you also want to save some money without the sacrifice, visit mintmobile.com/debtoverit, also linked down below in my description box, to get a premium wireless plan starting at just $15 per month with any 3-month plan. And like I was saying before, they currently have a limited time deal where you can get $60 off their 12-month unlimited plan. So if you are interested, I would make the switch as soon as possible because this offer is not going to last long, and you can lock in their unlimited plan for 12 months at $25 per month. Thank you again to Mint Mobile for partnering with me for this video, and now we can get back to it. Now I'm going to talk about my budgeting system and kind of how I track my spending, all of that. I actually share this on a monthly basis, so I upload a video where I share my budget for the upcoming month, and then I also share all of my spending for the month and like a summary of everything going on in 1 month. It's going to be much easier for me to just share my screen on this one, and many of y'all are familiar with this. So this is my monthly budgeting spreadsheet for 2025 so far. So you can see January, February, March, April. I'll come back to this. These look a little bit different than they have in the past. So if I go back to, let's go to 2023. You can see they look kind of similar, but I had a W-2 9-to-5 job, and then my business was just a side hustle at that point. But obviously it looks quite similar, and the reason I have things separated out now is because I have the business side of things up on this top part, and then the personal side of things down here. I actually have these spreadsheets available for free. It's linked down below. You'll have to enter in your name and your email, and then it will come to your inbox. But I have a couple of different versions available if you're interested. I like things very simple and straightforward and clean. I like some color in there, but I don't like anything too crazy. It makes my brain confused. So Literally the way that I do this, you can see that I keep moving off to the right. There's some people who, maybe you just want 1 month on each tab, so you could create a new tab for every new month of the year, but I just keep every month on one tab and I just keep going off to the right. So for example, if I was creating May's budget, I would copy April, so everything is copied here, and then I'm going to paste it off to the right, and I would literally just come in and change this to May. I would change the colors. Let's do yellow. And then depending on the month, I just adjust things as needed. So like I was talking about before with my gross business revenue, I don't always know exactly what that's going to look like. That's why I have an expected column versus an actual column. So, I can kind of see if I was accurate or not. I finalize my budget usually about a week before the new month is starting. So I often will start a budget kind of early. Like you can see here that I created April. I'm filming this kind of late March, but I had already created April maybe a couple of weeks ago just to kind of see what to expect as far as things go. But yeah, so if I'm planning for May, I don't really know what to expect yet for my business revenue, but I probably have a general idea of what to expect for business expenses. Like for example, I would not be paying, that's for April, so I'm going to delete these notes. I'll have the rollover business revenue. I probably won't pull from my sinking fund, so I'll take that out. And then I usually will look at past months. So for example, if I go to 2024 revenue and expenses, I look at kind of what the expenses were for the last year. We'll just call it $500 for now, and obviously as I get closer to the month, I would actually finalize things. So yeah, that's the business side. And then same with the personal side. Like I have my paychecks coming in. Do I need this much of a distribution? Probably not. So I would adjust that. The things that change are like house and utilities. Savings would probably be fine. Like these things could be lower. So yeah, I would just adjust depending on the month and what I'm expecting for the month. And that's how I do this, just month over month for the whole year. And then in my monthly update videos, y'all probably are used to seeing this as well. So I track my net worth on here. I'll talk about that in just a bit, but that's those like lower sections that y'all typically see. But one part I don't usually show is up here. So I do track my income. I used to track my gross and my net, but now that I'm self-employed, it's a little bit confusing just how I track everything. But yeah, I keep track of my gross income here and then all of my expenses from the months. So this red section is all for my spending. So if we go back to this spreadsheet, everything that is here, like the actual spending, these numbers are what I pull into here. Usually what I do is at the end of the month is I pull the spreadsheet up on my phone and then also pull this up on my laptop and then log the numbers that way. And I really like to do this because it gives me a picture of how I'm tracking for the year. So everything's totaling up on the right-hand side here. So YTD is year to date. And then it's calculating the percentage of my gross income that I'm spending in each category. And this is really helpful with annual budgeting. I have a video on that. I made my annual budget, and then I also talk about how to create your annual budget. And this is like key to doing that. And I guess I should step back a little bit as far as tracking my spending. I track in real time for the most part. So if I go to the grocery store, I come out to the car, I'm holding my receipt, and I will log that spending right then and there in the car, in the parking lot. Or I'll get home, unload my groceries, and then I have my receipt and I log it then. Same with if I got gas, I just log that spending right away. If I did some shopping online, come to the spreadsheet, I actually have it like saved as a favorite on my browser, so I can just click it and come right to it or pull it up on my phone, and then I'll log that spending as necessary. I find that's the easiest way. I am just so in routine with that it's second nature. It's just a habit that I've built, and I don't really ever forget things. And yeah, it just works really well for me. I've been doing this for years now, and I don't think I'll ever stop. It's just so helpful. It's been a big part of me. It was part of my debt-free journey. That's how I paid off my debt, just paying attention to where my money is going. And now it's just still important for growing my net worth. Now I'm going to talk about all of the accounts that I have and how often I am checking those. So first up would be my personal checking account, my main checking account, which would be with Bank of America. I've had that account since I was like 16, 15 years old. I don't know. I'm now almost 32, so I've been pretty loyal to Bank of America, not because they're a super great bank or anything, but just because it's so much easier to stay with them instead of like switching everything that I pay for over to a different bank. So first, let me say that I log into this account every single morning. Like I don't ever miss that. It's pretty rare for me not to log into this on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes I'll log in twice just to see if like transactions went through. That's just because I want to check on things. I also keep my checking account at a pretty low balance, and I guess I'm living on the wild side. Some people hate that. I cannot stand having a large balance in my checking account just because I feel like that money can make more money elsewhere. So I just like to make sure things are looking all right there and I'm not, too low in there. So I usually have it at just a few $100s. It depends. Obviously, if I just got paid, it'll be a little bit higher for like a day and then I have to pay bills from there. But if I'm paying any credit cards, it's usually coming from this checking account. And if I'm like paying to pay for the house and the bills, that type of thing, I transfer the money to my boyfriend, and that's through Bank of America. Same with if I'm paying my sister for the dogs, I transfer through Bank of America. I do also have a few other personal checking accounts because I opened them for bonuses. Y'all know I like to do that. And some of them don't have fees, so I don't have to worry about it, and they just have no money in there. I'll go and close them eventually. And then I have money in a Chase checking account. Well, I don't really keep money in it, but I have direct deposit going to a Chase checking account. I actually like Chase as a bank, honestly, and the main reason that I keep the Chase checking account open because it does have a monthly maintenance fee if it doesn't receive direct deposit or if it doesn't have a balance. But I also can get referrals through Chase, so that's a big reason for me to keep it open. I have an active Citi checking account because I opened that for a bonus recently, still waiting on everything to finalize there, and then I'll get that bonus and eventually close that one. But yeah, I just have a few floating around. But for the most part, the main one is Bank of America. Those other ones don't hold money on a monthly basis, though. I do have money going to them when I get paid, but I literally transfer the money out the same day, and it hasn't been an issue. So I will log into those on the days that I get paid, so the 15th of the month and the last day of the month. I do have a business checking account with Novo, and I will log into that a few times in the week, I would say. It just depends. Sometimes I am logging in to check. So for example, when I get my YouTube paycheck, it tells me I'm about to get my YouTube paycheck in an email, but it doesn't tell me the amount. So I'll just log in, confirm that amount, log that as my income, whatever. That type of thing. Or if I'm running payroll for my business, I just log into there, make sure I have enough money to run payroll, that type of thing. I'll log in just to check the balance here and there. Or if I'm taking a distribution, just transferring money from that business checking account to my personal checking account, I will log in to do that and initiate that transfer to Bank of America. I think I already said it, but I have that with Novo. I do have a referral link if you need a business checking account. That will be down below. You can get $40. And then I have my high yield savings account. That is with Marcus by Goldman Sachs. That's where I keep my emergency fund and all of my sinking funds. I do have a total of 8 accounts under Marcus. So with Marcus by Goldman Sachs, you can create multiple accounts under one login. They all have different account numbers, but they're all earning the same interest. You can name them, so that's how I have different savings accounts, different sinking funds. So my 8 different funds, that would be my emergency fund, taxes sinking fund, gifts, travel, car/car maintenance, car insurance, insurance savings for like a tax credit for my health insurance, and then a business sinking fund. So yeah, emergency fund and then 7 sinking funds for those various things. I keep my savings here because I earn interest. At this point, it's like 100 something each month of just money that I make from money sitting there. Right now, at the time of me filming, the interest rate with Marcus is 3.9. Obviously, that fluctuates, but that's completely normal. I always log into this account on the last day of the month, so that's when I log my final balances. After the interest comes through, I go over these numbers on my monthly update videos. And then otherwise, I would say I'm logging in a few times in the month if I'm making a transfer. So if I'm transferring money from Bank of America to my car insurance sinking fund, for example, or if I'm adding to any sinking funds, I'll log in, make that transfer. Otherwise, I don't really have a reason to log in. I could just, check things, but at this point, it's like once a week and then always on the last day of the month. And then I have a few investment accounts. So my 401k, I log into that again on the last day of the month to check the balance. Sometimes I'll check it randomly. So yeah, maybe just 2 to 3 times in the month, and that's with Guideline. And I will talk more about my investments in just a bit. I also have my Roth IRA and my brokerage account, both of which are with Vanguard. So if I log in, I see the both of those. Again, I check that on the last day of the month, and then otherwise, same thing, maybe 2 to 3 times in the month. It just depends. I really don't check it that often just because it's like, unless I log in if I'm adding money to it. Lately, it's been slow with my Roth IRA. I'm not contributing to I'll talk about the investing in just a bit. But yeah, it's just like sporadically that I will log in, but definitely always the last day of the month so I can log the balance. And then I do have multiple credit cards. I would say at this point it's like 10. So I log into those as I spend money on them. And I do use just about all of them at this point. I would say I actively use 8 to 9 of them, just depending on the month. But if I know that I spent money on it, I will log in, make that payment, and then log in when I make a payment again. I will probably make a completely separate video on all of my current credit cards, what I use them for, and how I optimize cash back and all of that. I absolutely love using credit cards. I don't carry a balance. I'll talk about that in just a bit, but I use them for every single purchase I'm making, aside from, paying bills and stuff. I use credit cards because I get cash back. And yes, obviously I have quite a few. I don't mind having to log in to them here and there. Like, to me, it's not overwhelming. It's not a problem because I just enjoy it. It's just a part of my system, but I don't log in on a daily basis. It's not really necessary. I do keep track of my due dates, and because I keep track of the due dates, I have a general idea of when the statement is, the billing cycle is, and then I just make sure I pay everything before that so I don't pay any interest, and so that I don't have any balances reported on my credit report. I actually keep track of that on my spreadsheet as well, so I can show you that real quickly. It's nothing crazy, nothing special. So here we are in my spreadsheet again. We are looking at the budget part, and it's actually, if you scroll down, this list here, these are my credit cards, and I put in, so these are the due dates next to them. And then as I spend money, so recently $80 was charged to my Venture X card. So once I know that, I put that in here. So I know, okay, I need to pay $80 on this card. I need to do that by the 17th or whatever. And I just keep adding to this if necessary. Once I make that payment, I would put this to 0. Same with Bank of America. I made a $64.70 purchase, so that's on here. We are already past the 15th, so I really don't have to rush to pay this, but I still aim to pay these down by the end of the month. So that's how I keep track. It works for me. I just have this running total, and then I put it down to 0 once I pay it off. And that leads me to my next topic, which would be debt. And this is a big difference from my 2020 video to now because I don't have any debt. 0 debt, which is so cool. I don't have a mortgage. This house that I'm living in is my boyfriend's, and I pay a portion. If you're curious about that, I filmed a video with my boyfriend where we talk more about that. But otherwise, you can see how much I pay on a monthly basis in my budget videos. But yes, I don't have any debt. I paid that all off in 2023. I had over $82,000, mostly student loans, but car loans, credit cards. I owed my sister money. Just lots going on, and I paid that all down in about 5 years. And so now I don't have any debt, and I don't plan on ever going into debt again, aside from a mortgage. That's obviously a bit different. And I kind of just touched on this when I was talking about my credit cards, but I just aim to pay them off every single month. There are some times where I will have a balance that carries over into the next month. I do still keep track of that. It's something that I calculate in my net worth, so I will subtract what I owe in my net worth. But I don't truly count it as a debt because I will pay it off and I don't pay any interest on it. I don't have a continuous debt for more than 10 days even, But I do absolutely love using credit cards so I can get the rewards, get the points. I pay for a lot of travel that way, plus the referrals that I receive. That's super helpful, I will admit. But I cover a lot of expenses with points, and I just like to optimize as much as I can. In the past, I used to pay a lot in interest to these credit card companies, and I have more than made that money back, and that's pretty cool to me. Like, they are paying me. For the most part, the way that I handle my credit cards, I will make a purchase. So let's say I went grocery shopping. I know that I have that $75, $80 charge on that card. Obviously, that's going to take a couple of days to process, but once it does process, I will pay it down. So that's kind of my strategy. I don't ever pay interest on my debt. And like I said, it sometimes rolls into the next month. I just subtract that from my net worth and then make sure I take care of it before the due date, before the statement. I like to keep my credit utilization at 0%. Let me tell you my total credit limit. I'm logging into Credit Karma right now. So I have $88,700 that I could spend, but it's at 0%. So I just don't keep a balance on any of my cards. Next, I'm going to talk about how I save and invest and just in general, my savings and investments. So I do have my emergency fund. At the time of me filming this, it's about $13,700 or so. And that would cover about 4 months, maybe a little bit more of bare bones expenses for me. Is that enough being self-employed? Probably not, but I feel pretty good with where I'm at just because of the money that I'm making on a monthly basis, and also because I have other savings accounts. So I have, I have investment accounts, but also multiple sinking funds. Let me first say that my emergency fund is in my high yield savings account. So it is gaining interest on a monthly basis. I try to add to it when I can. I have not been adding to it lately. I would love to grow this number. At some point, I would like to have a pretty solid chunk in just cash, like in my high yield savings account. I wouldn't be opposed to 100K. I think that's one of my goals I set for by the time I hit 40 years old. Is that way too much to have in cash? Yes, probably. But for whatever reason, I would like to hit that one day. Not a huge thing that I'm working toward, but something that I've mentioned before that I would want to achieve just because it would be super comfortable to have that. But this year, for example, I would be cool with my emergency fund where it's at, or like 15K, even better if I can get it to about $20,000. So lately, I have not had that much money to spare to be able to build up my emergency fund, but it's stayed at that 13,000 amount for several months now and just keeps growing with the interest that's gained in that account. And then I have the 7 other sinking funds. I already mentioned those before, but that includes taxes, gifts, travel, car/car maintenance, car insurance, insurance savings for tax credit, health insurance purposes, and then my business sinking fund. In the past, when I was working my full-time job plus had my side hustles, I was adding to a few of them on a monthly basis. So I would always add to gift sinking fund, I was adding to travel, I was adding to car maintenance every month just so I could build those up. And now that I'm self-employed and my income fluctuates and I don't make as much money when, compared to before when I was making multiple streams of income, including my 9 to 5, I really just prioritize one of those sinking funds, and that would be car insurance. So every month, it's non-negotiable. I need to add $125 to that because I pay my car insurance on a 6-month basis. So that's the main one that I prioritize, but recently I have not been adding to the other ones. And sometimes I pull from them. Like if I book travel, I'll pull from that sinking fund. Sometimes when I pay for gifts, I'll pull from my gift sinking fund. But sometimes I just try to cash flow things so I can have the sinking funds that I already have, continue to grow. Everything that I have in cash savings or in my high yield savings account comes to over $28,000. That does include my emergency fund and all those other funds that I just mentioned. So yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good amount. I would love to get back over, at one point, I think I reached over 32,000, and I would love to get to that, over 30K. It just sounds better, I suppose. Then as for my investments, I do have my 401k, and at this point it is a solo 401k. So I rolled over the 401k I had with my past employer into my new 401k that is with Guideline at the moment, and I'm invested in 2 Vanguard index funds. That would be VIGAX and VFIAX, so 50-50 split between the two. Right now I have Guideline for free, so typically you have to pay for Guideline on a monthly basis, like as the business, but I don't really want to do that. It's kind of expensive, so I may end up rolling my 401k into Fidelity at some point this year, but not 100% sure yet. I'll talk about that when the time comes, but that's where it's at now, and I do add to it on a monthly basis. So from my paychecks, I contribute 5%. Right now my paychecks are $2,500, so it's like $125 per month. And then I also match my 401k, so technically it's all my money, of course. I'm doing a safe harbor match, so that means about 4%, and that comes to, at this point, $100 per month. So in total, $225 goes to my 401k on a monthly basis. I do contribute to my traditional 401k, by the way. Not investing advice, y'all can choose what you want to. I know so many people are like, no, you need to do Roth everything, but I like to balance that. I like traditional 401k so I can save a little bit on taxes, and then I contribute to my Roth IRA. So I do have my Roth IRA with Vanguard. I have maxed it out every year since 2022, which is very exciting. Unfortunately, I have not yet maxed it out for 2025. I would love to just be able to do it at the beginning of the year, like do the full 7,000 contribution on January 1st. That's just the approach I prefer to take. But again, because my income fluctuates, I'm making less money than I was before. I wasn't able to save up for it. I have not been able to do that for 2025, so I'm just slowly adding to it this year. I do still plan on maxing it out, but I'm a little bit behind. It's been just like a couple hundred each month so far. But the plan with my Roth IRA is to max it out every single year that I can moving forward, as long as I'm not above the income limits or anything like that. I would probably do a backdoor Roth anyway. But yeah, that's the goal with that. I would love to just continue to do that for the rest of my working years. My whole Roth IRA is invested in VTSAX, which is the total stock market. And then I also have my brokerage account also with Vanguard. This is invested in primarily VTI, which is the total stock market. It's the total stock market, but the ETF version. And then also VGT, which is Vanguard's Information Technology Fund. Mostly VTI though. I add to this here and there. Until I max out my Roth IRA for 2025, I will not be adding to my brokerage account, but not opposed to it after I max it out. In the past, like in 2024, for example, I had already finished maxing out my Roth IRA and all of that, so I was just adding a little bit to it on a monthly basis, like a couple $100 or so, and that's just kind of grown because of capital gains, compound interest, all of that. I have a whole video dedicated to talking about my investments. If you're interested in that, I can link that down below. And in that video, I talk about how much I've actually invested, how much it's grown. Things have changed actually since then already because the market has dropped, but you kind of get the idea. And I go into way more detail there. So that may be helpful if what I went through was just kind of fast. Okay, and the last thing I'll talk through is my net worth and how I track that. So I track my net worth on a monthly basis. There's times that I've received comments like, isn't it bad to check your net worth monthly? Like, isn't that so unhealthy? No, not for me. Like, I don't mind. It doesn't bother me if I see my net worth decrease. Like, I'm in my early 30s. It's not like I'm retiring tomorrow. So if my net worth decreases, it's okay. Even if you're older and it decreases, it's okay. It's going to recover. This is just normal. If you zoom out, look at the big picture, look at the last 20, 30 years of the stock market, you will see that there's plenty of ups and downs, and we will see that in our personal net worth as well. So checking my net worth monthly is what works best for me. That is completely okay. If you want to just check every quarter, every 6 months, every 1 year, whatever it is, that's cool. But yes, I check monthly and I do it manually. So in the past, I tried using things like Personal Capital. There's some other platforms I probably tried using, but there would always be, with those things, you have to like link your accounts to them, and then it will keep track of your net worth on, you can log in daily and see your net worth because it's pulling in those numbers. But there would always be 1 or 2 accounts that had trouble linking. Like, I would keep having to log in, and to me, it's just so annoying. Plus, it's just like another website having more of my information, so I am absolutely fine with tracking manually. And again, we go back to Google Sheets, so let's hop to that. Again, if you watch my monthly update videos, you are used to seeing this. So aside from this top section here, where I keep track of my net worth is in this yellow section, but everything is populating automatically. So let me kind of explain this sheet in case you are new to this. There is typically a part up here for debt, but I don't have debt, so I took that out. But this blue section is how much I actually put to my savings and investments. So in the month of February, I put $125 to my car insurance sinking fund. I put $45 to my business sinking fund. I put $250 to my Roth IRA. This is something I fill out on the last day of the month. So that's just how much I put to, or how much I contributed to each of my accounts. And then down here, we have my savings. So I keep track of the final balance on the last day of the month, as y'all know. So that's my savings up here, my savings and sinking funds. And then here are my investments. I went through all of those, and that's just the final balance, again, on the last day of the month. So I literally, I don't miss a day. On the last day of the month, I'm like ready to go, excited. I look forward to filling this out. Sometimes the last day falls on a weekend, so things don't finalize until, like with the savings account, the interest may not come through until like the following Monday or whatever. But no matter what, I'm coming in here and filling out something, you know, like these will be logged because the market is closed, whatever. And then if the interest takes a bit longer with Marcus, then I'll just come in and fill this in. But yeah, always on the last day of the month, I never miss it. I very much look forward to filling these in. And then all these numbers here pull down to the yellow section automatically. And then I add in my checking account balance, my personal checking accounts, plus my business checking account. And then if necessary, I'll subtract any money that I owe on credit cards. Usually it's not much. Sometimes it is. It really depends. But I talked about this before in the video where I was keeping track. I do keep track of whatever I owe on my credit cards over here, so it just makes it much easier for me to keep everything together. And yeah, of course, everything is adding up, so it will tell me my net worth. I plug in the numbers manually up here, pull it down here. Like I said, I don't mind doing that. I genuinely enjoy doing it. I do have a chart, so this is just for the year, and then I always keep track of like all the years ever since I started tracking my net worth. I didn't start until early 2021, unfortunately. I wish I had data from even before that, but I don't. So I just keep on adding to this. I literally have one for every year. So this is 2025. I have it for, this is from 2024. Yeah, if you just keep on going back, 2023. It is really cool to look at because like you can see my net worth, you know, back in January of 2020, let's look at 2 years ago. March 2023, 40,569. And well, let's say February. So 33,000 in February 2023. And now if we go to February 2025, 121,000. Like, so cool. I love seeing this data. If you're not tracking your net worth, I highly encourage you to do so. The other thing I wanted to call out here is what I don't count in my net worth, and this is just personal preference. So I don't include, if I have money in this taxes sinking fund, I don't count that. Lately, I really haven't been adding too much to that just because I pay taxes through payroll and on my paychecks and stuff. But yeah, this is a sinking fund so that if I have to pay quarterly estimated tax payments, which you do as a self-employed person typically, that's where I would save money. So I exclude that from my net worth just because it's not really my money. It's, you know, it's like taxes, they're gone. And then I do not count the value of my car in my net worth, just again, personal preference. I don't want to. Like, to me, it doesn't, I don't see that as an asset just because I would have to sell it. And I know technically I would have to sell you know, my investments or whatever for it to be an actual asset, for it to be a realized thing in my life. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't want to count the value of my car. That's just what I prefer to do, what I've always done. Plus I would have to like check Kelley Blue Book every month, and like, is that even accurate? I don't know. So maybe it probably is. Yes, that's completely fine if you want to track it. I just do not. And same with, I don't have a house, I don't have a mortgage, so I don't track that here. But would I count the equity in my home toward my net worth? I probably wouldn't, unless it was like an investment property, and I don't plan on doing that. But completely fine if you want to do that. This is just what I do. All right, I know that was so much, very, very much detail that I just went into, but if you have any questions, if I missed anything, definitely let me know. I will add here that something I'm really working on right now is increasing my income. Like, that's the main thing with my finances. I feel like overall I'm pretty well rounded with my finances. I'm proud of how much I have in savings. I'm proud of my net worth, my investments. Of course, I would love to see all of that grow. And the main way for me to make that happen is by increasing my income. So I don't spend a crazy amount on a monthly basis. You know, I keep things in check for the most part, and I feel like I spend within reason. So I know that I need to increase my income in order to save more, in order to invest more. But overall, I'm pretty content with where things are at, and I'm okay with, you know, slowly investing. It hurts a little bit. Y'all know, I've talked about before how I am feeling some FOMO around not maxing out my Roth IRA right away and those types of things, but it gets better with time. And overall, I'm just very, very happy with my finances and my lifestyle. So anyways, kind of going off topic there, I guess I can link my money goals video down below if you're curious about that, but top focus is working on increasing my income. That is how I manage my money. This is what works best for me. So I'm not telling you this is how you need to manage yours. You can, you know, take some ideas from it if you want to. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I would really appreciate if you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really supports my channel, and I'll see you in my next one.